The rosary beads click against frozen brick. Blood pools beneath wrinkled fingers. Snow falls sideways under dying streetlights. And somewhere 3 blocks over, sirens wail into the Brooklyn night. Luciano Veretti stops mid-stride. He shouldn't be here. His penthouse sits 40 floors above this mess, climate-controlled, bulletproof glass, keeping the world where it belongs. Outside. But tonight, restlessness dragged him down to street level. No guards. No drivers. Just him and the cold. The woman slumped against the wall, doesn't move. Her breath comes in shallow rattles. Her coat, threadbare, decades old, barely covers her frame. One hand grips the rosary. The other clutches her chest. He takes 2 steps forward, then stops again. Mafia dons don't do this. They don't kneel in alleyways. They don't touch strangers. They certainly don't risk exposure for elderly women bleeding out in Red Hook at midnight. But then her eyes open. Dark, clear, focused directly on him. Luciano, she whispers. His blood goes ice cold. Luciano Veretti. No one uses that name. Not out loud. Not on these streets. His father buried it 40 years ago in a closed casket with 3 bullets in his chest. He moves closer now, instinct overriding caution. How do you know that name? She smiles. Faint. Sad. Like she's looking at a photograph instead of a man. You look just like your father, she says. Her voice cracks. Except your eyes. They're emptier. The wind picks up. Snow catches in his hair. His hands ball into fists inside his coat pockets. Who are you? Eunice, she breathes. Eunice May Coleman. I was there the night Marco Veretti died. I held his hand while he bled out on a hospital gurney. And the last thing he said, she coughs. Blood flecks her lips. Was your name? Luciano's knees hit the pavement. He doesn't remember deciding to kneel. Doesn't remember reaching for her wrist to check her pulse. His fingers find it, weak, irregular, fading fast. Brooklyn General, she continues, eyes drifting closed. August 1985. Trauma unit. They wheeled him in around 2 a.m. Police everywhere. His own people never came. But I stayed. He kept asking if his son was safe. You were 6 years old. Hi viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Luciano's phone vibrates in his pocket. Probably his men. Probably wondering why their boss vanished without a word. He ignores it. Why would you help him? His voice comes out rougher than intended. Nobody helped him. He died alone. He didn't die alone, Eunice whispers. I was there. And now, another cough. Weaker this time. Now I'm here. With you. The sirens grow louder. Closer. Luciano lifts his head, scans the street. Empty. But not for long. This neighborhood talks. Cameras on every corner, even the broken ones. He should walk away. He should call his people. Let them clean this up. Disappear back into his fortress where decisions don't involve collapsing strangers who somehow know ghosts. Instead, he pulls out his phone. Get a car to Red Hook. Now. And call Dr. Martinelli. Tell him I'm bringing someone in. 30 seconds of silence on the other end. Then, boss, are you sure? Now. He ends the call. Slides one arm beneath Eunice's shoulders, the other under her knees. She weighs nothing, like carrying a memory. Her head falls against his chest. You shouldn't do this, she murmurs. You don't know what you're bringing into your house. Neither do you, he says. But as he carries her toward the streetlight where his car will arrive, one thought loops through his mind, cold and sharp as the wind cutting through his coat. No one alive should know his father's name. And if she was there the night Marco Veretti died, if she really held his hand, heard his last words, then she knows things. Secrets buried deeper than bodies. Truths the family spent decades erasing. The black sedan pulls up. His driver steps out, eyes wide, mouth opening to protest. Luciano cuts him off. Open the door. The driver obeys. As Luciano slides into the back seat with Eunice still cradled in his arms, her eyes flutter, open one more time. Your father wasn't the monster they told you he was, she whispers. And for the first time in 30 years, Luciano Veretti feels something he thought he'd killed long ago. Fear. Not of dying. Not of enemies or feds or betrayal. Fear that everything he built, every choice, every body, every cold decision that made him the most feared man in New York was built on a lie. What would you do if a dying stranger unraveled your entire life in one sentence? Drop your answer below, because what happens next will tear Luciano's world apart. The clinic smells like disinfectant and leather. Private. Off-grid. No questions asked, no records kept. Dr. Martinelli meets them at the side entrance, glasses sliding down his nose, hands already gloved. Get her stable, Luciano says. Not a request. Martinelli's eyes flick to Eunice, then back to Luciano. Boss, she needs a hospital. She needs discretion. Luciano lays her on the exam table. Her breathing sounds like crumpled paper. Do your job. The doctor moves fast. For line. Oxygen mask. Blood pressure cuff. Machines beep and hum while Luciano stands against the wall, arms crossed, watching. His men arrive 10 minutes later. Dante Russo pushes through the door first. 6'3", scar through his left eyebrow. Loyalty stitched into every choice he's made since they were 15. Boss. Dante's voice drops low. Urgent. What are you doing? Saving a life. You don't save lives. You end them. Dante steps closer. Who is she? Someone who knew my father. The room goes quiet except for the machines. Dante's jaw tightens. That's not possible. Everyone from back then is dead or gone. You made sure of that. Not everyone. Luciano watches Eunice's chest rise and fall. Shallow. Fragile. She was a nurse. Brooklyn General. August 85. Dante's face changes. Just a flicker, but Luciano catches it. What? Luciano pushes off the wall. Say it. Nothing. Dante looks away. Just Brooklyn General had feds all over it that year. Witness protection cases. Informants. You sure you want her here? Luciano doesn't answer. Dr. Martinelli clears his throat. She's stable. For now. But her lungs are compromised. Heart's weak. She needs rest, fluids, and honestly, he glances at Luciano. A miracle. Then gets started on that miracle. Martinelli nods, leaves the room. Dante lingers. Boss, I'm serious. If anyone finds out you're harboring, no one will find out. And if she talks? If she's wired? If. Enough. Luciano's voice cuts clean through the tension. I'll handle it. Dante stares at him for 3 long seconds. Then turns. Walks out. The door clicks shut. Luciano moves to the chair beside the exam table. Sits. His knees crack. When did he get old? 49 feels like 70 tonight. Eunice's eyes open. Slow. Like waking from a dream, she doesn't want to leave. You should have left me there, she says. Her voice is stronger now. Still weak but present. Probably. I testified against your family. No hesitation. No fear. Just fact. 1986. Federal trial. I was the witness they built the case around. Luciano's fists clench. Then why are you still breathing? She smiles. Tired. Sad. Because your father asked me to. The machines beep steadily. Oxygen hisses through the mask. Before he died, Eunice continues, he told me something. He said, my son will grow up hating me. But maybe if someone tells him the truth, he won't grow up empty. Luciano stands. Walks to the window. Stares at nothing. You don't know anything about me. I know you yell at your men because silence scares you, she says. I know you build an empire on rage because grief felt too heavy. I know. She pauses. Coughs. You're still that 6-year-old boy waiting for his father to come home. His reflection stares back at him in the glass. Hard jaw. Cold eyes. Hands that sign death warrants before breakfast. She's wrong. She has to be wrong. But then why does her voice sound like truth? Get some rest, he says without turning around. We'll talk later. Luciano. He stops. Hand on the doorknob. Thank you, she whispers, for not leaving me to die alone. He doesn't respond. Just walks out. Closes the door behind him. In the hallway, Dante leans against the wall, arms crossed. She's lying, Dante says. Whatever she told you, it's a trap. Maybe. Then why keep her alive? Luciano looks at his oldest friend. His brother in everything but blood. The man who buried bodies beside him. Built an empire from nothing. Never questioned a single order. Because if she's telling the truth, Luciano says slowly, then I need to know what my father really wanted. Dante's expression shifts. Something unreadable crosses his face. And if she's lying? Dante asks. Luciano's voice drops to a whisper. Then I'll bury her myself. He walks past Dante, down the hall, out into the cold night where his driver waits. As the car pulls away from the clinic, Luciano stares out the window at the city. His city, built on blood and silence and secrets older than the concrete beneath his feet. Somewhere in that clinic, a dying woman holds answers he didn't know he needed. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a question whispers like snow against glass. What if everything you believed was a lie? If your entire life was built on someone else's lie? Would you want to know the truth? Comment below, because Luciano's about to discover his past isn't what he thought. Morning light cuts through the clinic blinds. Eunice sits propped against pillows, sipping water through a straw. Her hands shake, but her eyes stay steady. Luciano enters without knocking, pulls a chair close. No pleasantries, no small talk. Tell me about my father. Eunice sets the cup down. What do you want to know? Everything. She takes a breath. Slow. Measured. August 12th, 1985. 2:17 a.m. They brought him in through the ambulance bay. 3 gunshot wounds, 2 in the chest, 1 in the abdomen. He was conscious. Barely. Luciano leans forward. Who shot him? I don't know. Police were asking the same thing. But Marco, your father, he wouldn't talk. Just kept saying your name. Over and over. Luca. Is Lucas safe? Did they get to Luca? The nickname hits like a fist. Nobody's called him Luca since he was 7. I was assigned to his room. Eunice continues. 12-hour shift. The detectives wanted me to report anything he said. But she pauses. All he talked about was you. How you liked grape soda. How you drew pictures of superheroes. How you were scared of thunderstorms, but wouldn't admit it. Luciano's jaw tightens. That's not the man I heard about. Because the man you heard about was the one everyone needed him to be. Eunice's voice softens. Ruthless. Cold. Untouchable. But dying men don't lie. They don't have time for it. What else did he say? He told me about your mother. How she died when you were 4. Car accident. But he always suspected it wasn't an accident. He said he made enemies. Said the life chosen before he understood what it meant. Luciano stands. Paces. His reflection moves across the window glass. Why should I believe you? You testified against him. Against us. Because he asked me to. Luciano spins around. What? Eunice meets his eyes. No flinching. Before he died, he made me promise. He said, they'll come after my son. They'll twist everything. Make him think I was a monster. But if you testify, if you tell the truth about what happened that night, maybe the feds will leave him alone. Maybe he'll have a chance. That's insane. He was dying. People do insane things when they're dying. Luciano's hands curl into fists. You destroyed our family. The trial, everything fell apart after you testified. I know, no apology, just acknowledgement. But your father believed it was the only way to keep you safe. He thought if the empire collapsed, you'd be free. Free? Luciano laughs. Bitter. Sharp. I was 9 years old. Orphaned. Bounced between foster homes until I was 16. You think that's freedom? Eunice's expression cracks. Just slightly. I didn't know what happened to you after. I went into witness protection. Changed my name. Moved 6 times in 10 years. I thought. Her voice breaks. I thought you'd be okay. Silence fills the room. Not comfortable. Not easy. The kind of silence that comes before earthquakes. Luciano sits back down. Slower this time. Heavier. He really asked about me. His voice comes out quieter than he intends. That night, every 5 minutes, Eunice's eyes shine. He held my hand at the end. Said, tell Luca I tried. Tell him I'm sorry, I couldn't be better. And then, she wipes her eyes. He was gone. Luciano stares at the floor. Memories flicker like old film reels. His father's laugh. The smell of his cologne. Sunday mornings at the bakery, just the 2 of them, powdered sugar on their hands. Then the gunshots. The sirens. The police officer telling him his father wasn't coming home. You yell so loud because you're scared of your own silence. Eunice says softly. I see it in you. The same fear Marco had. The fear that if you stop moving, stop fighting, you'll disappear. Luciano looks up. You don't know me. I know scared men. I've been a nurse for 40 years. Seen every kind of pain there is. And yours, she tilts her head. Yours is the worst kind. The kind that builds walls so high you forget what you're protecting. His phone buzzes. He ignores it. Why come back, he asks. Why now? After all these years. I didn't plan to. Eunice leans back against the pillows. I've been in Baltimore. Quiet life. Small apartment. Then last week, I saw your face on the news. Some charity event. And I thought, she smiles sadly, I thought that boy grew up. But did he grow up empty? So you came to Brooklyn to check? I came to Brooklyn to die where it started. Her voice steadies. I have 6 months. Maybe less. Lung cancer. Stage 4. No treatments left. The machines beep steadily in the background. I wanted to tell you the truth before I ran out of time, she says. Whether you believe me or not, that's your choice. But your father loved you. And everything I did, everything I testified to, I did because he asked me to save you. Luciano stands. Walks to the door. Hand on the knob. Get some rest, he says. Luciano. He stops. Your father wasn't perfect. But he wasn't the monster they made him into. And neither are you. He doesn't turn around. Just opens the door. Steps into the hallway. Dante's waiting. Again. Everything okay, boss? Luciano walks past him. Fine. She telling the truth? I don't know yet. Wanting to dig into it. I can pull the old case files, see if her story matches. No. Luciano stops. Looks at Dante. Really looks. I'll handle it. Something flickers across Dante's face. Too fast to read. Whatever you say, boss. Luciano heads for the exit. The cold morning air hits his face, sharp and clean. He stands on the clinic steps, staring at the city waking up around him. Somewhere in the distance, church bells ring. And for the first time in decades, Luciano Veretti wonders if he's been the villain in someone else's story all along. What would you risk to learn the truth about your past, even if it shattered everything you believed? Tell us below, because the next revelation will change Luciano's life forever. Midnight. The clinic lights buzz overhead. Luciano sits in his office down the hall, reviewing ledgers, when voices drift through the door. Lo, urgent, mail. He recognizes them immediately. His men, Dante and Marco Knuckles Patterson. The nurse from the report, right? Luciano goes still, pen hovering over paper. Has to be, Dante says. Same name, same age. Eunice Coleman, federal witness. Case number 86 to 4471. Brooklyn District. Boss, no, don't think so. Silence. Then Knuckles again. She testified against the old man. Against the whole operation. We'll let her breathe. We're asking for problems. I know. So what do we do? Luciano stands. Moves to the door. Doesn't open it. Just listens. We wait, Dante says. See what she tells him. If she's working with the feds, she'll slip. They always do. And if she's not, then we handle it quietly. Footsteps. Moving away. Luciano waits until the hall goes silent. Then grabs his laptop. Opens encrypted files he hasn't touched in years. 20 minutes later, he finds it. Case 86 to 4471. Federal grand jury testimony. Witness, Eunice May Coleman, RN. Her photo stares back at him. Younger. Hair dark instead of gray. But same eyes. Same steady gaze. He reads the transcript. Every word. Every page. She testified about the night his father died. About the 3 men who visited the hospital. Men from the Veretti family. About the detective who asked her to cooperate. About Marco Veretti's last words. The testimony matches what she told him. Almost word for word. But there's more. A sealed addendum. Classified until 2025. Luciano's hands freeze over the keyboard. He shouldn't open it. Sealed federal documents trigger flags. Alerts. Someone will notice. He opens it anyway. The first line stops his heart. Witness Coleman claims the deceased, Marco Veretti, requested she testify against his own organization to protect his minor son, Luciano Veretti, age 6. Luciano reads it again. Then again. She wasn't lying. His father really asked her to destroy the family. The next section details the aftermath. How the testimony fractured the Veretti empire. How rival families moved in. How the feds couldn't touch Luciano because he was a minor under state protection. And then, the final paragraph. Witness Coleman was placed in WITSEC under the alias Lorraine Harris. Current location, Baltimore, Maryland. Note, witness expressed concern for Luciano Veretti's welfare on multiple occasions. Requested updates on his status. Request denied per protocol. She asked about him for years, and nobody told him. Luciano slams the laptop shut, stands, paces. Everything he built, every enemy he made, every life he took, every choice that turned him into the man people fear was built on the belief that his father abandoned him, that his father was weak, that the only way to survive was to be harder, colder, stronger than everyone else. But what if his father's last act was love? What if the empire fell so Luciano could rise? The door opens. Dante walks in without knocking. Boss, we need to talk. Luciano turns. About the woman. Dante closes the door. She's dangerous. Why? Because she knows things. Old things. Things that could bring heat we don't need right now. Luciano crosses his arms. What kind of heat? Dante hesitates. Just a second. But Luciano catches it. Dante, what kind of heat? There are people who'd pay good money to find her. People who've been looking for years. What people? Feds. Old enemies. Families who lost everything after she testified. Dante steps closer. If word gets out she's here, with you, it's a problem. Then we keep it quiet. Not that simple. Dante's voice hardens. Dominic Testa's crew already heard rumors. They're asking questions, making moves. Luciano's jaw clenches. Dominic Testa, old rival, older grudges. How much do they know? Enough. Dante meets his eyes. Boss, I'm telling you, this woman's more trouble than she's worth. Let me handle it. Quiet. Clean. No one has to know. No. Boss. I said no. Silence stretches between them. Finally, Dante nods. Your call. He leaves. Luciano stands alone in his office, surrounded by files and ledgers and the weight of decisions that built empires and buried men. His phone buzzes. Unknown number. He answers. Yeah. Mr. Veretti. A woman's voice. Professional. Cold. This is Special Agent Kira Mills, FBI. We need to talk about a woman you brought into your clinic 3 days ago. His blood turns to ice. I don't know what you're talking about. Eunice Coleman. Federal witness. Protected identity. You have 24 hours to turn her over, or we're coming in. The line goes dead. Luciano stares at the phone, then at the door, then at the window overlooking the city he controls. But right now, for the first time in 30 years, Luciano Veretti doesn't feel in control of anything. The FBI knows. Rivals are circling, and Luciano's running out of time. But what he discovers next will force him to choose between power and truth. Stay with us. Luciano walks into Eunice's room at 3 a.m. She's awake, staring at the ceiling. You lied to me, he says. She turns her head slowly. About what? Everything. He moves closer, stands at the foot of her bed. The feds know you're here. My own men want you dead. And you. His voice drops. You knew this would happen. Eunice sits up. Slow. Painful. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. Same thing. No. Her voice sharpens. Lying is twisting the truth. I just gave you the parts you were ready to hear. I'm ready now. He pulls the chair close. Sits. Tell me everything. No more waiting. She studies him, long and careful, then nods. Your father didn't just ask me to testify. He planned it. Weeks before he died. Luciano's hands gripped the armrests. He knew they were coming for him. Eunice continues. His own men, a setup disguised as a deal. He found out 2 days before it happened. But instead of running, she pauses. He asked me to be there, at the hospital, when they brought him in. Why you? Because I was the only one he trusted. We met 6 months earlier. I treated him after a car accident. Minor injuries. But we talked. He told me about you. About how scared he was that you'd end up like him. Luciano's throat tightens. He made me promise, Eunice says. If anything happened to him, if they killed him, I'd testify. I'd tell the feds everything. Names, locations, money trails, all of it. Because if the empire collapsed, his enemies would have no reason to come after you. That's insane. That's love. Her eyes lock onto his. He sacrificed everything so you could have a choice. So you wouldn't inherit his war. Then why did I end up here anyway? Why did I become exactly what he tried to prevent? Because no one told you the truth. Eunice's voice cracks. After I testified, they put me in witness protection. I tried to check on you. Asked the feds for updates, for proof you were safe. They refused. Said it wasn't protocol. By the time I got out, you were already, she gestures vaguely. This. Luciano stands. Walks to the window. Brooklyn stretches out below, lights flickering like dying stars. You said you raised me, he says quietly. That night. In your confession. What did you mean? Silence. He turns around. Eunice's face is wet. Tears track down her cheeks, slow and steady. After your father died, the state took you. Foster care. But the first placement, her voice breaks. They were connected. To the families. The feds didn't know, but I did. I'd seen the caseworker at the hospital, talking to men in expensive suits. Luciano's pulse hammers in his ears. So I took you. The words come out like a confession. 6 months. You lived with me. I told the courts I was your aunt. Forged the paperwork. It wasn't legal. It wasn't safe. But I couldn't, she wipes her eyes. I couldn't let them take you. Why didn't you keep me? Because they found out. Her voice steadies. Hardens. The feds traced the paperwork. Threatened to charge me with kidnapping. Said if I didn't turn you over to proper placement, I'd lose my immunity. They'd revoke my protection. I'd be exposed. So you gave me up. I gave you a chance. She meets his eyes. I place you with the nuns at St. Catherine's under a false name. Luca Moretti. Clean slate. New identity. No connection to the Moretti family. You were supposed to be safe. Luciano's knees buckle. He catches himself on the window frame. Why don't I remember any of this? You were 6. Traumatized. The nun said you didn't speak for 8 months. Just drew pictures and stared out windows. By the time you came out of it, she shrugs sadly. I was gone, and your memories were gone with me. The machines beep. The world keeps turning. But inside this room, time stops. You should have told me, Luciano whispers. I tried. I wrote letters. Dozens of them. But I couldn't send them. Couldn't risk exposing you. So I kept them. Waited. Hoped that someday, her breath hitches. Someday you'd find me. Or I'd find you. And then you saw me on the news. And I knew I was running out of time. Luciano turns back to the window. His reflection stares back. Hard jaw. Cold eyes. The face of a man who built kingdoms on other people's graves. But underneath, somewhere deep and buried, is the ghost of a 6-year-old boy who just wanted his father to come home. If everything you're saying is true, he says slowly, then my entire life, everything I became, was for nothing. No. Eunice's voice cuts through the darkness. It was for survival. You did what you had to do. But now, she pauses. Now you get to choose what happens next. He looks at her. Really looks. This dying woman who held his father's hand, who raised him in secret, who carried his story for 40 years without asking for anything in return. Why tell me now, he asks. Why not take it to your grave? Because you deserve to know you were loved. Her voice breaks again. Your father loved you. I loved you. And everything we did, every terrible, impossible choice, we made because we wanted you to be free. Luciano's vision blurs. He blinks hard. Turns away. The feds are coming, he says. Tomorrow. Maybe sooner. And my man, he stops. I don't know who I can trust anymore. Then don't trust anyone. Eunice leans back against the pillows. Exhausted. Fragile. Just trust yourself. Ask yourself what you want. Not what the empire wants. Not what your men expect. What do you want? The question hangs in the air like smoke. What does he want? Power? He has that. Money? More than he can spend. Respect? Fear? Control? He has all of it. But standing here, in this sterile room with a dying woman who risked everything to save him twice, once as a child, once as a stranger in an alley, he realizes the truth. He wants peace, and he has no idea how to get it. Get some rest, he says finally. We'll figure this out in the morning. Luciano. He stops at the door. Thank you, she whispers, for giving me the chance to tell you. He doesn't answer, just walks out. closes the door behind him. In the hallway, Dante leans against the wall, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "How long have you been standing there?" Luciano asks. "Long enough." They stare at each other. Two men who built an empire together, who buried secrets and enemies side by side, who swore loyalty until death. But something's different now. Something's shifted. "You believe her?" Dante asks. Luciano doesn't answer right away, just looks at his oldest friend and wonders, for the first time in 30 years, if he ever really knew him at all. "I don't know yet," Luciano says, "but I'm going to find out." He walks past Dante, down the hall, out into the cold night. Behind him, in the clinic, machines beep steadily. Eunice breathes shallow and slow. And somewhere in the city, forces are already moving. FBI agents, rival families, ghosts from the past, all circling toward one dying woman and the man who refuses to let her go. Because if everything she said is true, then Luciano Veretti has spent his entire life running from the one thing his father died to give him: freedom. Luciano's entire empire is built on a lie, and the truth is about to cost him everything. What happens when the feds arrive? Comment your prediction, because Chapter 6 changes everything. The compound explodes with light at 4:30 a.m. red and blue strobing through every window. Sirens screaming. Boots pounding concrete. Luciano's phone erupts. 12 calls simultaneously. He's already awake. Already dressed. Already knew this was coming. "Boss!" Knuckles burst through the door. "FBI, 30 agents, maybe more. They got warrants. They got... Where's the woman?" "Still in the clinic. Get her out. Now." "Boss, there's no time." "Now." Knuckles runs. Luciano moves to the window. Counts the vehicles. 8 black SUVs. 2 armored trucks. Tactical team assembling near the gate. They're not here to negotiate. His phone rings. Special Agent Mills. He answers. "You're early." "Where is she, Veretti?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Eunice Coleman. Federal witness. We have satellite confirmation she's in that building. You have 60 seconds to send her out, or we're coming in." "Come in then." He hangs up. Dante appears in the doorway. Face tight. Eyes wild. "Boss, we gotta move." Back exit still clear, but not for long. "Where's the woman?" "Knuckles is getting her." "But boss." Dante steps closer. Voice dropping. "This is it. They got us. Warrants for harboring a witness, obstruction, conspiracy. If they find her here, you're done. Then we make sure they don't find her." "Ow!" "They got thermal imaging, drones, the whole." Luciano grabs Dante's collar. Pulls him close. "You've been with me since we were kids. Bled with me. Built with me. So I'm asking you one time. Are you with me now?" Dante's eyes flicker. Something moves behind them. Something dark. "Always, boss. You know that." Luciano releases him. "Then get the cars ready. South Tunnel. 5 minutes." Dante nods. Disappears. Luciano takes one last look at his office. 20 years of empire building. Ledgers. Maps. Photos of men who built this kingdom alongside him. He grabs a black duffel bag from the safe. Cash. Passports. Untraceable phones. The emergency kit he swore he'd never need. Footsteps thunder up the stairs. He's out the door before they breach the office. Down the service hallway. Past security monitors showing agents flooding the main entrance. The clinic door bursts open. Knuckles emerges, half carrying Eunice. She's conscious but weak, for still attached to her arm. "Can you walk?" Luciano asks. "I can try." "Good enough." They move fast, down 2 flights of stairs, through the laundry room, into the tunnel system Luciano had built 15 years ago for exactly this scenario. The walls are concrete, bare bulbs every 20 feet. Water drips from somewhere overhead. Eunice stumbles. Luciano catches her, lifts her into his arms. "I can walk. Save your strength." Behind them, voices echo. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness. There, South Corridor. Gunfire cracks the air. Bullets spark off concrete. Knuckles returns fire. 3 shots. Clean. Precise. The flashlights drop. They reach the exit. Steel door. Rusted hinges. Luciano kicks it open. Cold air rushes in. They're in an abandoned warehouse 3 blocks from the compound. 2 black sedans wait, engines running. Dante stands beside them, gun drawn, face unreadable. "Get in," Dante says. Luciano carries Eunice to the first car, slides her into the back seat. Knuckles jumps in the driver's seat. "Where to, boss?" Luciano looks back at the compound. Smoke rising, sirens wailing, his empire burning. The church. Outside Newark. "You know the one." Knuckles nods, peels out. Dante walks to Luciano's window, leans in. "Boss, you sure about this?" "About what?" "Running. For her." Dante's voice drops. "You built everything. You gonna throw it away for some dying woman who destroyed your family?" "She didn't destroy it. She tried to save it. You believe that?" Luciano meets his eyes. "I don't know what I believe anymore. But I know this. If I hand her over, I'm no better than the men who killed my father." Dante's jaw tightens. "Then I guess this is goodbye." "What?" "The feds got warrants for all of us. But they want you most. If you run, you make it worse. For everyone." Dante steps back. "So, I'm asking you, as your brother, don't do this. Turn her over. Cut a deal. Save what you can." Luciano stares at him. This man he's known since they were teenagers. This man who stood beside him through wars and losses and victories. "You'd really ask me to do that?" "I'm asking you to be smart." Smart would have been walking away the night I found her. Luciano's voice hardens. "But I didn't. And I'm not starting now." Dante's expression shifts. Something cold slides across his face. "Then you're on your own." He steps back, raises his phone, makes a call. Luciano's blood freezes. "What are you doing?" Dante doesn't answer, just speaks into the phone. "Yeah, South Warehouse. Black sedan. Heading toward Newark." Realization hits like a bullet. "You sold me out." Dante lowers the phone. "I saved you. For years. But you're too stubborn to see it. Too blinded by some fairy tale about your father being a hero." He shakes his head. "Your father was weak. And so are you." Luciano lunges for the door handle. Dante pulls his gun, aims it through the window. "Drive," Dante says. Not to Luciano. To Knuckles. Knuckles looks in the rearview mirror. Eyes wide. Torn. "Drive." Dante's finger tightens on the trigger. Knuckles slams the gas. The car rockets forward. Through the back window, Luciano watches Dante lower the gun. Watches him turn away. Watches the man he called brother disappear into the darkness. Eunice reaches forward. Touches Luciano's shoulder. "I'm sorry." He doesn't respond. Just stares ahead as the city blurs past. His empire crumbling behind him. His future racing toward him like headlights in fog. Sirens erupt in the distance. Growing closer. Knuckles checks the mirror. We got company. 3 cars. Maybe more. Luciano pulls a gun from the duffel bag. Checks the clip. "Lose them." "Boss, I'm trying, but..." "Then try harder." The car swerves through narrow streets. Runs 2 red lights. Cuts through an alley, so tight the mirrors scrape brick. But the sirens don't fade. Eunice coughs. Hard. Blood flecked her lips. "We need to stop," she whispers. "I can't. We're not stopping." "Luciano." "I said we're not stopping." She falls silent. The city thins. Buildings give way to industrial zones. Empty lots. Chain-link fences. Ahead, the church. Small. Stone. Windows boarded up. Abandoned for years. "There." Luciano points. Knuckles swings into the lot. Skids to a stop behind the building. They're out in seconds. Luciano carries Eunice. Knuckles covers them with his weapon. The church door is locked. Knuckles kicks it open. Inside, dust. Broken pews. Stained glass shattered across the floor. But shelter. It's hidden. It's all they have. Luciano lays Eunice on the floor near the altar. Her breathing is shallow, ragged. "Stay with me," he says. She smiles weakly. "Where would I go?" Outside, engines. Doors slamming. Voices shouting commands. They're surrounded. Knuckles moves to the window. Peeks through a crack in the boards. 30 men. Maybe more. They got us boxed. Luciano looks at Eunice. Then at the duffel bag. Then at the door. He could surrender. Hand her over. Save himself. The FBI would deal. They always deal. But as he kneels beside this dying woman, This stranger who carried his story when no one else would. He realizes something. He spent 30 years building power, hoarding control, making sure he'd never be vulnerable again. But right now, in this broken church with sirens closing in, he's never felt more free. Knuckles, Luciano says quietly. Get out of here. Boss. That's an order. There's a back exit through the basement. Take the car. Disappear. I'll handle this. I'm not leaving you. Yes, you are. Luciano stands. Because if you don't, we both die here. And someone needs to remember what really happened. Knuckles stares at him, then at Eunice, then back. Finally, he nods. It's been an honor, boss. Likewise. Knuckles disappears through a side door. Luciano turns back to Eunice, sits beside her on the cold stone floor. This is my fault, she whispers. You should have left me in that alley. Probably. He takes her hand. But I didn't. And I'm not sorry. She squeezes his fingers. Weak but present. Outside, a voice booms through a megaphone. Luciano Veretti. We know you're in there. Send out the woman and come out with your hands up. Luciano closes his eyes, breathes deep, then stands, walks to the door, opens it. 20 guns point at his chest. Special Agent Mills steps forward. Where is she? Luciano doesn't answer. Mills nods to her team. Search the building. She's dying, Luciano says. She needs a hospital, not a prison. That's not your decision. Then whose is it? Yours? Some bureaucrat who doesn't know her name? His voice rises. She spent 40 years protecting a secret that saved my life. And now you want to drag her back into hell because of paperwork. Mills's expression doesn't change. Step aside. Agents move past him, into the church. Luciano stands in the doorway, watching, waiting, and wondering if redemption is even possible for men like him. Surrounded, betrayed, out of options. Luciano's about to make a choice that will shock everyone, including himself. What happens next will leave you breathless. The agents find Eunice within seconds. 2 of them lift her gently. She doesn't resist, just looks at Luciano with tired eyes as they carry her past. Wait, Luciano says. Mills raises her hand. The agents stop. Luciano walks to Eunice. Kneels beside the stretcher they've laid her on. I need to know something, he says quietly. That night you found me, or I found you, was an accident? Or did you plan it? Eunice smiles faintly. Does it matter? To me it does. She reaches up, touches his face with trembling fingers. I wanted to see you one more time. Make sure you turn out okay. But when I saw your eyes, her voice cracks. I knew you were still lost. So I stayed. Hoped maybe I could help you find your way. And did you? I don't know. She lowers her hand. Did I? Luciano doesn't answer. Just stands as they carry her toward the ambulance. Mills approaches. You're under arrest. Harboring a federal witness. Obstruction of justice. Conspiracy. I know the charges. Then you know you're looking at 20 years minimum. Worth it. Mills tilts her head. Worth it? For what? She's dying anyway. You threw away your empire for a woman who'll be dead in 6 months. She gave me something your badges can't touch. Luciano meets her eyes. She gave me truth. Mills studies him, long and careful, then signals her team. Cuff him. Cold steel closes around his wrists. As they lead him toward the vehicles, Luciano looks back at the church. Morning light breaks through the clouds, touches the broken stained glass, makes it shine like it's not really broken at all, just different. They load him into an SUV. Eunice is already in the ambulance, doors closing, lights flashing. The convoy pulls out. Luciano watches the church disappear in the rearview mirror, then the industrial district, then the city's skyline rising like tombstones against the dawn. His phone, confiscated now, had 14 missed calls. His lawyers will be scrambling. His assets frozen. His people scattering like smoke. Everything he built, gone. But sitting in the back of this vehicle with his hands cuffed and his future crumbling, Luciano feels something he hasn't felt in decades. Relief. The weight he's carried since he was 6 years old. The rage, the grief, the need to prove he was stronger than his father's memory. It's lifting. Not gone. Not healed. But lighter. The SUV stops at a red light. A woman crosses the street, pushing a stroller. A man walks a dog. Normal people living normal lives. Luciano used to think they were weak, that their simplicity was a prison. Now he wonders if maybe he was the prisoner all along. The light turns green. They drive on. At FBI headquarters, they process him in silence. Fingerprints. Photos. Empty his pockets. Standard procedure for men whose empires just collapsed. Mills walks him to an interrogation room. Metal table. 2 chairs. Camera in the corner. Sit. He sits. She places a folder on the table. We've been watching you for 3 years. Building a case. Waiting for the right moment. She opens the folder. Photos spill out. Meetings. Transactions. Faces Luciano hasn't thought about in years. But then you did something we didn't expect. You saved her. Luciano says nothing. What? Mills leans forward. You're not a hero. You've ordered hits on men for less than what she did to your family. So why risk everything to protect her? Because she told me the truth. What truth? That my father loved me. The words come out quiet, raw, and that everything I became was built on a lie I didn't even know I was living. Mills closes the folder. We're offering you a deal. Full cooperation. Names, dates, locations, money trails. Everything you know about the 5 families. In exchange, she pauses. 15 years. Federal protection. New identity when you get out. And Eunice. She goes back into witness protection. Medical care provided. Full security. Luciano leans back. What happens if I don't cooperate? Life sentence. No parole. You die in prison. The camera blinks red in the corner. Recording. Watching. Waiting for him to break. But Luciano's already broken. The question now is what he builds from the pieces. I want to see her first, he says. Not possible. Then no deal. Mills's jaw tightens. You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you. Luciano meets her eyes. You need my testimony to bring down people bigger than me. I know how this works. So either I see her, alive, awake, able to talk, or you get nothing. Silence stretches between them. Finally, Mills stands. 1 hour. That's all you get. She leaves. Luciano sits alone in the white room with fluorescent lights buzzing overhead and his future narrowing to a single choice. Cooperate and survive, or stay silent and die behind bars defending men who'd sell him out for a lighter sentence. 30 minutes later, they take him to the hospital. 4th floor. Private room. 2 guards outside the door. Eunice lies in bed. Oxygen mask. Monitors beeping. But her eyes are open. Hey, Luciano says softly. Hey yourself. Her voice is muffled by the mask. Heard you got arrested. Heard you got rescued. She smiles. Weak but real. Some rescue. Traded one prison for another. He pulls the chair close. Sits. The guards watch from the doorway, but don't interfere. They're offering me a deal, Luciano says. 15 years if I cooperate. You should take it. That's a long time. Better than forever. She reaches for his hand. He takes it. You're 50 years old, Luciano. You take the deal, you're out at 65. Still time to live. Still time to find out who you are when you're not being what everyone expects. What if I don't know how to be anyone else? Then you learn. She squeezes his hand. Your father died. Try to give you a choice. Don't waste it by choosing pride over peace. Luciano looks at their joined hands. His, scarred, rough, stained with decisions he can't undo. Hers, fragile, shaking, holding on with everything she has left. I don't know how to let go, he admits. Yes, you do. Her eyes shine. You already started. The moment you picked me up off that sidewalk. The moment you chose mercy over power. You've been letting go this whole time. You just didn't realize it. The monitors beep steadily. Footsteps echo in the hallway outside. Thank you, Luciano whispers. For everything. For my father. For me. For not giving up. Thank you for finding me. A tear slides down her cheek. I spent 40 years wondering if I made the right choice. And now, she smiles. I know I did. A knock on the door. Mills enters. Time's up. Luciano stands. Looks down at Eunice one last time. I'll take the deal, he says. Not to Mills. To Eunice. I'll cooperate. Eunice nods. Good. Now go. And don't look back. But as the guards lead him toward the door, Luciano does look back. one last time, and sees not a dying woman, but the ghost of a nurse who held his father's hand, the ghost of the woman who raised him in secret, the ghost of every choice that brought him to this moment. The door closes, and for the first time since he was 6 years old, Luciano Veretti walks forward into an uncertain future without the weight of his past crushing him from behind. Luciano made his choice, but the hardest part is still ahead. What will his confession cost? And will Eunice survive long enough to see him free? Stay with us. Candlelight flickers across stone walls. Rain drums against the boarded windows. The abandoned church feels alive tonight. Breathing, waiting, holding space for something sacred. Eunice asked for a priest. The FBI granted it. Compassionate release, they called it. 3 weeks to live, maybe less. So they brought her here, to this quiet place outside Newark, where she can spend her final days in peace. Luciano sits in the pew behind her, wrists still cuffed, 2 agents flanking him. But Mills approved the visit. 1 hour. Final goodbye. Father Jerome arrives at 7 p.m. old. Black. Gentle eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He nods to Luciano as he passes. Eunice, the priest says softly, sitting beside her wheelchair. I understand you wanted to talk. I wanted to confess, she says. But I need him to hear it. She gestures to Luciano. Will you allow that, Father? Father Jerome looks at Luciano, then at the agents, then back to Eunice. God's grace extends beyond protocol, he says. If you need him here, then he stays. The agents shift uncomfortably, but don't object. Eunice takes a slow breath. The oxygen mask sits in her lap now. She wants her words clear. I've carried secrets for 40 years, she begins. Some I told, some I didn't. But tonight, she coughs, steadies herself. Tonight, I need to tell the whole truth. Father Jerome waits. I testified against the Veretti family in 1986, Eunice continues. Helped the FBI dismantle the empire. I did it because Marco Veretti, this man's father, asked me to. But that's not the whole story. Luciano leans forward, heart pounding. After Marco died, the courts took his son, Luciano. He was 6 years old, traumatized, alone. The state assigned him to foster care, but her voice cracks. The first family was connected to the people who killed Marco. I saw the caseworker meeting with men in expensive suits. Heard them talking about using the boy for leverage. Father Jerome's expression darkens. So I took him, Eunice says. Forged documents. Pretended to be his aunt. For 6 months, he lived with me. I fed him, held him when he cried, taught him how to tie his shoes, read him stories at bedtime. Tears stream down her face now. Steady, unstoppable. He called me Mama Eunice. Never asked about his father. She wipes her eyes. Just held my hand and smiled like maybe the world wasn't so broken after all. Luciano's chest tightens. Memories flicker, fragments, images, feelings he thought were dreams. A woman's voice singing, hands braiding his hair, the smell of cinnamon toast. But the feds found out, Eunice continues. Threatened to revoke my protection if I didn't turn him over. So I took him to the nuns at St. Catherine's. Gave him a new name, Luca Moretti. Told the sisters to keep him safe. And then, her voice breaks completely. I walked away. She sobs now. Deep, gutting. I walked away from the only child I ever raised. Left him with strangers. Disappeared into a new life while he grew up alone. And every day, every single day, for 40 years, I wondered if he was okay. If he remembered me. If he hated me. Luciano stands. The agents move to stop him, but Mills, standing in the back, waves them off. He walks to Eunice. Kneels beside her wheelchair. I remember you, he whispers. She looks up, eyes wide, disbelieving. I didn't know it was real, he continues. Thought it was dreams. But I remember, his voice cracks. I remember cinnamon toast. And a woman who sang to me when the nightmares came. And someone who told me my father was a good man, even when everyone else said different. Eunice reaches for him. He takes her hand. You didn't abandon me, Luciano says. You saved me. Twice. She shakes her head. I should have fought harder. Should have found a way to keep you. You did what you could. His grip tightens. And it's enough. You're enough. Father Jerome bows his head. Silent prayer or respect? Hard to tell. There's more, Eunice says. One more secret. Luciano waits. Your father didn't just ask me to testify. He made me promise something else. She takes a shuddering breath. He asked me to tell you, when you were older, when you were ready, that your mother's death wasn't an accident. Luciano freezes. The car crash that killed her, it was arranged. By men in the family. Men who wanted Marco out of the way. They couldn't touch him directly, so they went after her. Tears drip onto their joined hands. Marco knew. Spent 3 years trying to find proof. But by the time he had it, they killed him too. The room tilts. Luciano's vision blurs. He died protecting you, Eunice whispers. Died making sure the men who killed your mother couldn't touch you. And he asked me to testify, because if the empire fell, they'd have no power left to hurt you with. Luciano's knees buckle. He catches himself on the armrest of her wheelchair. Everything he believed. Every foundation he built his life on. Lies. His mother, murdered. His father, a protector, not a coward. The empire, a poison his father died trying to cure him of. I'm sorry, Eunice sobs. I'm so sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I thought if you knew, you'd be consumed by revenge. Thought maybe ignorance would keep you safe. But instead, she looks at him. Really looks. Instead, you became the thing your father died trying to save you from. Luciano can't speak. Can't breathe. Can't think past the roar of blood in his ears. Father Jerome places a hand on his shoulder. Rage is a powerful thing, son. But so is forgiveness. I don't know how to forgive this, Luciano whispers. Then start small. The priest's voice is gentle. Firm. Forgive her. Forgive your father. Forgive yourself. I don't deserve forgiveness. None of us do. That's why it's called grace. Eunice reaches up, touches Luciano's face with shaking fingers. Your father's last words, she says, were tell Luca I tried. Tell him I'm sorry, I couldn't be better. She smiles through tears. But you can be better. You can choose different. It's not too late. I'm 50 years old. I spent 30 years building something I should have walked away from. So walk away now. Her hand drops. Take the deal. Serve your time. And when you get out, she coughs. Blood flecks her lips. Find out who Luciano Veretti is when he's not being haunted. The monitors attached to her wheelchair beep erratically. Father Jerome checks them, concern flooding his face. She needs to rest, he says to the agents. Mills steps forward. Time's up. Luciano stands. Looks down at Eunice, this woman who carried his story through decades of silence. Thank you, he says. For my father. For me. For not giving up on either of us. She smiles. Weak. Fading. I'm not giving up. I'm letting go. And I'm leaving you to live. The agents move to escort him out. But Eunice's hand shoots up, grabs his wrist with surprising strength. One more thing, she whispers. Your father wanted you to know you were never a mistake. You were always the best thing he ever made. Her hand goes limp. The monitors scream. Doctors rush in. The agents pull Luciano back as the medical team swarms Eunice's wheelchair. He watches, helpless, cuffed, unable to do anything but stand there as they fight to keep her alive. 2 minutes feel like hours. Finally, the lead doctor steps back, shakes his head. Time of death, 9:43 p.m. The room goes silent. No machines beeping. No voices. No movement. Just stillness. Luciano stares at her. This stranger who became his mother, his savior, his last connection to a father he never really knew. And as the agents lead him toward the door, he realizes something. The silence after her last breath is louder than any gunshot he's ever heard. Eunice is gone, but her final secret will reshape everything Luciano thought he knew. What he does next will shock the entire police force and change his life forever. Don't miss what comes next. Morning light cuts through the FBI conference room windows. Cold, sharp, unforgiving. Luciano sits across from Mills and 3 other agents. A stack of files between them. A recorder spinning in the center of the table. Let's begin, Mills says. Full names, locations, financial trails, everything. Luciano stares at the recorder. Red light blinking, capturing every word, every choice. Before I start, he says quietly, I need one thing. Mills sighs. We already agreed to the terms. Not that. He meets her eyes. I need her buried beside my father. Under her real name. Not the fake one she lived under. Not some unmarked grave. I need her remembered. Mills exchanges glances with the other agents. That's not part of witness protection protocol, one of them says. Her identity needs to stay sealed. She's dead. Luciano's voice hardens. Protocol doesn't matter anymore. She spent 40 years hiding to protect me. The least you can do is let her rest with dignity. Silence stretches across the table. Finally, Mills nods. I'll make the arrangements. Thank you. Now talk. Luciano takes a breath. Then begins. Dante Russo. He's been feeding information to the DEA for 8 months. Started after his brother got arrested on trafficking charges. They offered him immunity in exchange for evidence against me. The agents lean forward. He's got copies of ledgers going back 5 years. Routes, contacts, offshore accounts. Everything you need to dismantle the Veretti operation. Mills scribbles notes. Where is he now? Probably running. He knows I figured it out. Luciano pauses. But before he runs too far, you should know he's not the only one. What do you mean? 3 NYPD detectives. 2 judges. 1 assistant district attorney. All on a payroll. Dante's got their names. Their account numbers. Everything. The room erupts. Agents talking over each other. Mills raises a hand for silence. Why are you telling us this? She asks. These are people who protected you for years. Because they protected a lie. Luciano's voice stays steady. I spent 30 years building an empire I thought honored my father. Turns out, I was just feeding the same corruption that killed him. And my mother. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a flash drive, sets it on the table. That's everything. Names, numbers, locations, testimonies from men I worked with who'll flip if you offer them deals. It's all there. Mills picks up the drive, examines it. How do we know it's real? Because I'm done lying. Luciano leans back. My father died trying to save me from this life. And I ignore that gift for 30 years. I can't undo the past. But maybe, he looks at his cuffed hands. Maybe I can stop the future from repeating it. The recorder spins, capturing confession, capturing surrender. For 3 hours, Luciano talks. Every name, every deal, every body buried under every lie. By the time he finishes, the sun has moved across the sky. Shadows stretch long across the table. Mills closes her notebook. That's enough for today. What happens now? We verify everything. Start making arrests. You'll be moved to a federal facility pending trial. She stands. But Veretti, she pauses. What you did today, it matters. Not just for the case, but for the people who'll be safe because these men are off the streets. Luciano nods. Doesn't smile. Can't. Because nothing about this feels like victory. They take it back to holding. Small cell. Concrete walls. Thin mattress. But through the window, he can see the sky. That night, he doesn't sleep. Just lies there thinking about Eunice. About his father. About the 6-year-old boy who lost everything and spent his whole life trying to build it back wrong. 2 weeks later, they transfer him to federal prison. Medium security. Cell to himself. The days blur. Routine. Monotonous. Safe. He works in a library. Reads books he never had time for. Talks to his lawyer once a week. The trial happens 4 months later. Luciano testifies. 15 men go down, including Dante, who glares at him from across the courtroom but says nothing. The judge sentences Luciano to 15 years. With good behavior, he'll serve 12. He's 50. He'll be 62 when he gets out. If he survives. But survival isn't the question anymore. The question is what he does with the time he has left. 6 months into his sentence, a letter arrives. No return address. Just his name and inmate number. Inside, 1 page. Handwritten. Mr. Veretti, my name is Detective Lana Ortiz, NYPD. I'm writing because I recently came across documents related to your father's case. Specifically, testimony from Eunice Coleman regarding the events of August 1985. I believe there's more to the story. Things that were sealed. Things that might matter. I'd like to talk to you, if you're willing. Respectfully, Detective Ortiz. Luciano reads it twice, then folds it carefully, tucks it under his pillow. That night, he dreams of snow falling on Brooklyn streets, of an elderly woman clutching a rosary, of a father he never really knew asking if his son was safe. And when he wakes, for the first time in decades, he feels something other than weight. He feels hope. Luciano's confession changed everything, but a new mystery is about to surface. One final chapter remains, and what it reveals will leave you stunned. Asterisk, asterisk. The cemetery sits on a hill overlooking Brooklyn. Quiet, green, old headstones leaning like they're tired of standing. Luciano walks slowly. No cuffs today. Supervised release. 6 months early for cooperation and good behavior. He's 61 now, gray at the temples, lines around his eyes, thinner than he was, but stronger somehow, like losing everything burned away the parts that weren't real. Agent Mills walks beside him. She retired 2 years ago, but she agreed to bring him here. One last courtesy. It's just ahead, she says. They round a corner. Past oak trees dropping autumn leaves. Past graves marking lives lived long and short. Then he sees it. 2 headstones. Side by side. Simple. Clean. The first reads, Marco Luciano Veretti, 1945 to 1985, beloved father. The second, Eunice May Coleman, 1944 to 2025. She saved more than she knew. Luciano stops. Stares. Mill steps back. Give him space. He moves forward slowly, kneels between the graves, places one hand on each headstone. Hey, he whispers. I'm sorry it took so long. The wind moves through the trees, carries the smell of rain coming. I finish my sentence, he continues. 12 years. Lost everything I built. But he pauses, smiles slightly. I found something better. Found out who I am when I'm not trying to be what everyone expected. A leaf lands on his shoulder. He brushes it off. I'm teaching now, at a community center in Newark. Kids who grew up like me. No parents, no direction, just anger and fear and nowhere to put it. His voice steadies. I tell them about you, both of you, about how love sometimes looks like sacrifice, how strength sometimes means letting go. He traces his father's name with one finger. I don't know if you'd be proud of me, Dad. I made a lot of mistakes, hurt a lot of people, but I'm trying to fix what I can. Trying to be the man you wanted me to be before the world took that choice away. Then he turns to Eunice's stone, and his voice cracks. You gave me something nobody else could. You gave me truth, even when it hurt, even when it cost you everything. He wipes his eyes. I wish I'd had more time with you. Wish I could have told you that the 6 months I spent with you as a kid, those are the only memories that felt like home. Mills checks her watch but doesn't interrupt. I met someone, Luciano says. A woman named Rhonda. She runs the center where I teach. She knows everything about me. Everything. And she still chose to stay. He laughs softly. First time in my life, someone looked at all of me, the good and the broken, and didn't run. He stands, brushes dirt from his knees. I know you can't hear me. Or maybe you can. I don't know how any of this works. But I needed to come here. Needed to say thank you. For trying. For caring. For not giving up on a kid who didn't deserve the chances you gave him. A car door slams in the distance. Voices drift through the cemetery. Mills touches his shoulder. We should go. Luciano nods. Takes one last look at the graves. I'll come back, he promises. And next time, I'll bring flowers. They walk back toward the parking lot. Past rows of stones marking endings and beginnings. Near the gate, a woman stands beside a black sedan. 30s. Professional. Badge clipped to her belt. Detective Lana Ortiz. She's been waiting for this moment for 2 years. Ever since she opened that sealed envelope and found documents that didn't match the official story. Mr. Veretti, she says as he approaches. Detective. They shake hands. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Lana says. I know this isn't easy. Nothing about the last 12 years has been easy. He glances at Mills. What's this about? Lana pulls a folder from her car. Opens it. Inside, photos, documents, case files. 3 months ago, I was reviewing cold cases. Unsolved murders from the 80s. And I found something. She hands him a photo. It's old. Faded. but clear enough to recognize. Three men standing outside Brooklyn General Hospital. August 1985. Two of them were Veretti soldiers. Both dead now. The third, Luciano's breath catches. That's Dante's father, he says slowly. Paolo Russo. He died in 1987. Car accident. Lana pulls out another document. But before he died, he was part of the team that handled your father's case. He was there the night Marco Veretti was brought in. And according to sealed testimony, she pauses. He was the one who ordered the hit. Luciano's world tilts. What? Your father discovered that Paolo Russo was skimming money. Millions over 3 years. Marco threatened to expose him. So Paolo arranged the shooting. Made it look like a rival family. Lana's voice softens. Dante didn't betray you because the feds offered him a deal, Mr. Veretti. He betrayed you because his father killed yours. And he's been covering it up for decades. Luciano leans against the car, head spinning. Why are you telling me this now? Because Dante's up for parole next year. And if this evidence comes to light, if the truth about his father gets revealed, it changes everything. Lana closes the folder. I wanted you to know before it goes public. Wanted you to decide if you want to testify again. Luciano looks back toward the graves. Two people who loved him enough to die protecting him. What happens if I testify? Dante stays in prison, probably for life. The case gets reopened. Your father's name gets cleared completely. And if I don't, Dante walks, and the truth stays buried. Silence stretches between them. Finally, Luciano straightens. I'll testify. You sure? He was your brother for most of your life. He stopped being my brother the night he sold me out. Luciano's voice hardens. And my father deserves the truth. All of it. Lana nods, respect in her eyes. I'll be in touch. She gets in her car, drives away. Mills turns to Luciano. You okay? No. He looks at the cemetery gates, at the city beyond, at the sky stretching wide and open. But I will be. They walk to Mills's car. She drops him at a bus stop near the community center. Take care of yourself, Veretti, she says. You too, Agent Mills. Just Mills now. He smiles. Just Luciano now. She drives away. Luciano stands at the bus stop, hands in his pockets, watching traffic pass. His phone buzzes. A text from Rhonda. Kids are asking about you. You coming by today? He types back, on my way. The bus arrives. He boards, takes a seat by the window. As the city slides past, familiar and strange all at once, he thinks about the woman who found him in an alley, the father who died saving him, the life he built and lost and rebuilt from different pieces. He thinks about the kids waiting for him at the center, kids with anger in their eyes and nowhere to put it, kids who need someone to tell them that mistakes don't define you, that second chances exist, that redemption is possible even when you don't deserve it. The bus stops near the center. He gets off. Inside, 15 teenagers sit in a circle, waiting. Mr. V, a girl named Shanice waves. You're late. Traffic. He takes a seat. Where were we? A boy named Marcus raises his hand. You were telling us about your father. Luciano nods. Right. My father, Marco Veretti. He takes a breath. He made a lot of mistakes. Live a hard life. But at the end, when it mattered most, he chose love over power. And that choice saved my life. The kids lean in. I spent 30 years angry at him. Luciano continues. Thought he abandoned me. Thought he was weak. But turns out, he smiles. The strongest thing he ever did was let go. Let go of what? Shanice asks. Control. Pride. The need to be right. Luciano looks around the circle, at faces that remind him of his own at that age. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you were wrong. Ask for help. Choose different. Marcus frowns. But what if you can't fix what you broke? Then you fix what you can, and you live with the rest. Luciano's voice softens. Nobody gets through life without scars. The question is, do your scars make you bitter, or do they make you better? The room goes quiet. Then Shanice says, What happened to the lady? The one who saved you. Luciano's throat tightens. She died. But before she did, she told me something I'll never forget. He pauses. She said, I'm not giving up. I am letting go. And I'm leaving you to live. What's that mean? Marcus asks. It means Luciano looks at each face. Sometimes the people who love us the most give us permission to be free, even if it means they have to let us go. The session continues. Stories shared, questions asked, laughter breaking through tension. When it ends, the kids file out. But Marcus lingers. Mr. V, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think people like us, people who messed up, do we deserve second chances? Luciano stands, places a hand on the boy's shoulder. I think everyone deserves a second chance. But more than that, he meets Marcus's eyes. I think we owe it to the people who believed in us to take that chance, to prove their faith wasn't wasted. Marcus nods slowly. Thanks, Mr. V. He leaves. Luciano stands alone in the empty room, folding chairs, scuffed floors, peeling paint. But it's the most beautiful place he's ever been. Because this, helping kids find their way out of the darkness he once lived in, this is freedom. Outside, snow begins to fall. Soft, quiet. The first of the season. Luciano walks to the window, watches it drift past streetlights. And somewhere in the silence, he hears a whisper. Not real, but real enough. You gave me what no one else ever did, a way out. He smiles, then grabs his coat and heads into the cold night, ready to do it all again tomorrow. Because sometimes justice doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers. And sometimes the quietest voices change the world.